Alrighty, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us on Will and Friends Live. Today we have a special guest, Logan Allec. We're so happy to have him on. He's the founder of Money Done Right, and he's going to talk to us about the stimulus plan and all the different updates that we're getting. It's almost like it seems like on a daily basis. It's not multiple times a day. And so thank you so much for joining us, Logan.
Hey, you're welcome, Will. I'm glad to be here.
Cool. For people who don't know you, Logan, and your company, can you give us a little background of who you are, what you do, so that they can get a better understanding of why they should be even listening to you and your talks on the stimulus and just the updates there?
Yeah, so my company is it's essentially a media company. My primary business is a financial blog called moneydoneright.com. On that site, we write reviews of financial products, everything from credit cards to tax software to insurance products. We also rank them. But right now, what I'm really doubling down on is just helpful content for people to navigate through this tricky time we're in right now. And I've noticed that a lot of people are confused about these stimulus payments and these stimulus checks and who gets them and who doesn't. What if I'm on Social Security? What if I'm on supplemental security income? So I'm trying to fill that knowledge gap right now through my YouTube channel, also called Money Done Right. I think the full name is Money Done Right with Logan Allec, CPA, to just create content around the stimulus to help educate people who may not have access to the best information or who might be in some of these Facebook groups I've seen are spreading misinformation about it. So that's what I'm focusing on right now in the coming weeks.
That's awesome. And Logan, you've been in the tax industry for over 10 years, right? And the last major corporation that you're working at was Ernst Young as a tax manager?
Yeah, that's right. So before I went full-time with Money Done Right, I was in the tax field, and that still comes through a lot through my content. I might go a little bit deeper on tax stuff and some of my content than other financial blogs would, but because that's my background, it definitely still comes out.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And can you talk a little bit about what started this passion of starting this company and informing the public of what's going on in regards to financials, or even in our current situation, the stimulus package?
Yeah, so how I started this website, moneydoneright.com, back in 2017. It was actually called millennialmoneyclub.com back then, but I changed the name. But why did I start it? I mean, there were two reasons. One, I've always liked writing, but in my field as an accountant, there wasn't really a big outlet for that except technical writing, which isn't really the same as blogging. And then two, I was looking for a side hustle or a business I could start so that I could leave my corporate job. I read this article in Forbes about this financial blogger. I think it was like how this 27-year-old makes over $1 million from her finance blog. And I was like, really? I got to kind of try this. So I started generating some revenue. And within a year, it was generating enough revenue that I could quit my job and just pursue it full time.
That's awesome. So, because for people who don't know, I know Logan from our college days, and I know quote unquote younger side, but you even entered college on the younger end as well.
Yeah, so I did enter college about a month after I turned 17, so a little bit younger, not super young. But
were you always on track to graduate earlier?
Yeah, so actually it was through some kind of administrative mishap that I actually didn't go to first grade.
Obviously didn't need to, or you didn't need it.
I guess not. I mean, what's it useful for? You just learn how to color, I guess. But
right.
Yeah, so that's what happened there.
That's so funny. So you went to, we both went to UCLA, and you were majoring, or you had a minor or major in linguistics?
That's right, yeah. And I think that serves me well today because I can kind of combine that, more linguistics, more looking at language and thinking about how language works with also, my minor was accounting, and obviously that more financial numbers-based aspect. So I think it's blended well in my current career choice.
So funny because a lot of people will be like, oh, linguistics and financials, like that doesn't seem to correlate with one another. It wouldn't be a good mix with one another.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're a financial blogger, it sure does.
So talk to us a little bit about one of the videos that you were posting on YouTube that really captivated my attention was the different scams that are coming out from the stimulus plan right now.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of conversation, and there's also a lot of people who just don't know what's going on. Even
Right.
professionals in the field, they're like, well, it's changing every day. We don't know. And so I think a lot of, unfortunately, people are taking advantage of that and misconstruing certain things. So can you talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing out there?
Yeah, so whenever there's a crisis, people get desperate and confused, and especially with anything from the government, because the government can be inherently confusing. And we've seen this with this CARES Act, with the stimulus package. They've said one thing and then reverse course the next day. So it's really hard to keep on top of, especially some of the most vulnerable groups in our society. I'm thinking older people, folks like that, because most of the confusion right now regarding the stimulus has to do with that group. Or the disabled, right? People in SSI, they don't know what they need to do right now. So in times like this, a lot of scammers come out of the woodwork and try to offer some false reassurance. So like, for example, I've heard of people, and I did get one commenter on one of my videos say this, got a text from somebody saying, hey, pay us $50 and we will expedite the processing of your stimulus check. Right. So if you receive a text to that effect, ask you to pay money to somebody for your stimulus check, it's obviously wrong. Now, people like you or me might know that, but I'm thinking of an older relative, a grandparent. They're very susceptible to these things. I mean, we're talking billions of dollars, scammed every year from the hands of seniors by people trying to pull stuff like this. And the scammers are getting smarter and smarter all the time. Another classic scam is, something in the mail. Because right now, a lot of seniors, they know, okay, I'm not on direct deposit with the IRS or the Social Security Administration. I get a paper check. A lot of fake checks have gone out recently that were supposedly stimulus checks. And it says, hey, call this number before you deposit this so we can verify your information or something like that. And then when they get on the phone, it's a scam. They ask for their social security number. We got to verify your social, And so, there's a lot of scammers right now, especially targeting older Americans.
And so what would you say in regards to people who are getting spammed with mail and things like that? What is a way where they can distinguish, oh, this is fake versus this is actually legitimate? I should look into this further.
So, I mean, honestly, with some of these things, Google is your best friend. And a lot of older people now, they are becoming better with Google. Just Google the return address, right? Chances are someone may have written about some scam that came from this return address, or Google the number at the bottom of the letter you got, the number you're supposed to call. Chances are there's a lot of great scam websites out there just reporting these scams. Chances are someone has reported, hey, I got this fake, thing right now. It's a scam. Also, the BBB has like these scam alert things. You can go on their site and it basically reports all the scams that have recently come out pertaining to not just the stimulus, but other things. So do your research before just jumping the gun. Another thing that I see, as a CPA, when I had more clients and things like that, is that similar things happen when someone starts a business. They form an LLC or something, and then almost immediately they get a letter in the mail. And the letter in the mail says, oh, you have to pay an extra $300 to this service to register your LLC, blah, blah, blah. It looks very official. It looks like a very official looking letter. But if you Google the names on those letters, who the check's supposed to be made out to, the phone number, you'll see it's a scam. Same thing if you get a trademark. I recently trademarked Money Done Right with the government. And immediately after that was approved, I got a ton of mail from these fake organizations, very official looking with very official sounding names saying, okay, now you need to register your trademark, right, for Money Done Right on this database, this international database of trademarks or something like that. The CPA, I think I've seen it before, but I could see how some people get scammed. And I have actually had younger clients before actually get scammed by stuff like this. So, I've talked a lot about the older folks, but even some younger folks, if they're not too aware about what's going on, they can get scammed as well.
Yeah, especially if they're just busy with their day. And like you're saying, these are looking official documents. It's not like someone did a yellow notepad paper, wrote something and mailed it to you. But These are official looking companies, logos, language, and seem on the up and up.
I had one the other day. I was going to do a video on it, but I don't know where it is. But you get them constantly, really. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to us about, okay, so those are some of the scams that we're seeing right now. So obviously, if you see something saying that, oh, here's money for you when you didn't necessarily apply for it, that should be a red flag saying like, oh, is this actually legitimate?
Yeah, for sure. Now, with the stimulus in particular, what the IRS is trying to get people to do is get on direct deposit, so they don't have to deal with these paper checks, right? Because paper checks, check in the mail, it can get lost for one thing, and there's also scammers. So, especially for older folks that encourage them to go to the irs.gov website. They're going to roll out this portal where they can input their direct deposit information. Okay, so if they're currently getting Social Security with a paper check, you want them, when the IRS rolls this out, and I'll make a video about this when it rolls out, hey, you want to go to the IRS website, put in your direct deposit information so that then you can be sure, okay, the IRS has my direct deposit information. If you get a check in the mail or something purporting to be the stimulus, you already know, no, the IRS has my direct deposit. They're going to deposit it via direct deposit. So, yeah.
So there seems that you would need to have some type of communication to be able to do that. They're not going to be able to know what your direct deposit is and then transfer that money. There has to be some type of conversation where that already started.
Yeah, with the IRS, I mean, if you filed your tax returns and you put your direct deposit information on there, you're good. But if you're a senior, right, on Social Security or something, and if your Social Security is direct deposit already, you're good. But if your Social Security is not being direct deposited, you will have to go to the irs.gov website when it rolls out, the portal.
Right.
Who knows who's going to roll out to update your direct deposit information. So
makes sense. And just a reminder to all of us, all those who are joining us, thank you so much. Got the founder of Money Done Right, Logan Allec, with us. And if you have any questions in regards to the stimulus package, how to go about that, feel free to message us. I'm looking at the chat box now for both our Zoom and Facebook Live. Feel free to message, and we can be asking Logan those questions and having him answer those live. So Logan, as we continue the conversation, what else are you seeing out there in regards to the stimulus package that people aren't really aware of or not being informed about?
So one piece of misinformation that I saw recently on a news website is pertaining to the $500 credit that you get for qualifying children. Now, the income limitations just for the $1,200 checks for a taxpayer and spouse, like for married filing jointly, say that caps out at $198,000. Okay, so if you make more than $198,000, you can't get that, but you can still potentially get a portion of that $500 for your child, even if you make a little bit more than that, depending on how many children you have. So a lot of these calculators that you're actually seeing online right now, and that's just one minor detail, right? But a lot of these calculators you're seeing online right now pertaining to the stimulus are actually wrong. So I'm trying to, create this content on YouTube to address that as well. And I don't really blame them. These sites, the stuff has come out so quickly, and a lot of these people on these newsrooms or whatever is trying to churn it out. Yeah, I have the time to kind of, really study it closely. I know what to look for as well. But yeah, as always, the media, the news, they get it wrong sometimes. I've seen it on Fox, on NBC. There has been misinformation out there, and especially in these Facebook groups that I've seen as well pertaining to stimulus. They're just cesspools of misinformation.
So besides Money Done Right and the information that you guys are providing, what other resources can you be pointing to people to actually be learning and being well informed about the subject?
So especially pertaining to the stimulus, irs.gov/coronavirus. That's the official way the IRS is communicating to people about these payments. Also, if you're on Social Security, if you know someone on Social Security, it escapes me the exact URL right now, but the Social Security is updating their FAQ section right now pertaining to, on a regular basis pertaining to the stimulus payments. So
this is from a government website perspective.
Yeah, the government websites. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, ssa.gov. I think their URL is a bit longer. I'd have to look into it, but yeah, the IRS and the Social Security Administration are updating their information fairly regularly as it comes out.
That's really good to know, because I don't know about you, I've been on government websites that's been stale. No one's touched it in multiple years, and so it's just like, what's the point of actually going to these websites when no one's really updating it? But you're saying that they're updating it on a frequent basis.
And they do put the updated date on there. IRS.gov is the government website I deal with the most. They've gotten really good in the past couple of years putting the date for each article when it was updated. So be sure to look for that.
Do you feel like there's other prominent speakers that are out there right now talking about this that are good content, like good informative content in light of the stimulus package?
Yeah, I've kind of been focusing on the YouTube, but on YouTube there are some other good channels putting out good information. There was this one guy, he's a CPA, I think in the Midwest somewhere. He was putting out good stuff, but then I noticed this week he said something that was a bit erroneous, so I can't recommend him. But this one guy, his name's Devin Carroll. I think it's DevinCarroll. So he's like a Social Security benefits kind of consultant, right? So he's put out some really awesome stuff on the stimulus lately, especially for some of the most vulnerable Americans. So he's got a lot of good stuff right now as well.
That's cool. That's cool. Because like you're saying, the primary source is through the government, is through the IRS, or is through the Social Security website. And for those who aren't familiar with that language or what they're saying, it's we almost need like a cliff notes of what they're talking about and trying to process that.
Right. And also what I love about YouTube is people can comment and interact. So I am dropping these kind of daily stimulus updates every morning. And I encourage people, I say, hey, for the next hour, I'm going to be around answering, responding to your questions. Because I mean, on these videos, there's hundreds of comments, right? I can't get to them all. But if I can say, hey, for the next hour, I'm going to be here for you, and people comment and I can answer in real time. The government websites are great, but you don't have that capability.
Got it. That's a good point. So remind us again, what's your YouTube channel where you're on and accessible and be able to answer those people's questions?
Yeah, I don't know if this is flipped or not, but Money Done Right. You can just search Money Done Right on YouTube. Please subscribe. The full name is Money Done Right with Logan Allec CPA, or also moneydoneright.com. Basically, anything we publish on YouTube, there's usually a corresponding blog post for timely information like this. So.
Have you been able to look into some more information about small businesses or business owners who are going through a tough time right now with the global pandemic, having to shut down their business and being able to file loans, being able to get stimulus or getting some type of financial benefit? So
the SBA does have two, there's a credit as well, but the SBA has two loan programs right now. One is an existing loan program, the EIDL, it's basically a disaster loan, right? So when there's a disaster declared, SBA, can make these direct loans from the government to help businesses get by, right? So the president declared this a disaster. I think the date was January 31st. Is a disaster date. So you can go on the SBA.gov website and apply for this EIDL. Note that when it first came out, everyone thought it was going to be a free $10,000 from the SBA. There's people going crazy on YouTube about this. Everyone was talking about that. And they said it would be deposited within 3 days of when you applied. Well, that didn't happen. So what it actually looks like is it's up to $10,000 and it's not guaranteed. And it's probably based on the number of employees you have and some other metrics. They haven't really disclosed what their calculations are. If you haven't gotten in on this yet, you should go check it out. It used to be sba.gov/coronavirus. Now they've kind of changed the URL and I can give it to you later. But if you Google like SBA, EIDL or disaster loan, you can see that. I also made a video on my channel of how to complete the disaster loan application. So if you look on my videos, I go through it step by step on how to apply. There's also the PPP loan, which is the Paycheck Protection Loan. This has been there's been a lot of problems with this.
Why? What's going on with that? I've been hearing a lot about it. People are trying to apply for it, but what are the problems that are you seeing in light of it? Well,
it's just, it was supposed to roll out last Friday, but very few of the banks are ready. Now, it's a great program if you can get it. So it's a loan that's based on 2.5 times your payroll. And the definition of payroll is very broad, includes not only the wages you pay your employees, but also, benefits, retirement contributions, things like that. So you can get a loan for 2.5 times your payroll, right? And so if your payroll is to your employees and to yourself, let's say is $20,000 a month or something, multiply that by like 2.5 times, right? It's $45,000. If your payroll's, $1 million a month, if you're a big business, then you can potentially get a $2.5 million loan here, right? So it's small business, and the SBA's definition of small business is 500 employees or fewer, right? If I look at a company that has 500 employees, I don't think they're small. I think I'm a small business, right? Which is me and a couple employees. But the SBA's definition is actually a lot broader. So, and the great thing about the PPP loans is that they are forgivable in part or in full if the proceeds are used for the designated forgivable purposes, i.e., mainly payroll. Okay. So the purpose of this loan is to keep people employed, even though the business might have a cash crunch right now. They'll at least have the money to keep paying their people, not have to lay anybody off for the next 2.5 months. Now, the problems are, because this is a big promise, every small business wanted a piece of this, right? We said the applications would come out last Friday for certain groups, but the banks just weren't ready. And even I think yesterday I saw a business owner say that Wells Fargo they've shut the door for now, right? Another thing is for most of these big banks, you have had to have a pre-existing business relationship with them. Sometimes this meant something as simple as a business checking account, but for some of these banks, they came back and said, no, you had to have an existing loan with us or a line of credit or something like that. So there's a lot of confusion about this right now. And the government has talked about injecting more money into the PPP program to get this going. And all the margins for the banks aren't that great either. The interest rate is 1%. So, it'd be a great thing if you can get it, but it's just there are stumbling blocks to getting it right now.
Yeah, so it doesn't sound like, to your point in regards to the banks, they're not really incentivized to really want to push this out, but it's more of the government telling them or using the channel, or the government using the banks to be able to push this out to the people who need it.
Yeah, I mean it's guaranteed. It's federally guaranteed money. So that's what's going on here. I would encourage you, if you have an existing relationship with your small business bank, talk to them about it. Get in their queue, and see if they can help you along through the application process.
Makes sense. So like you're saying, it's a loan, but at the same time, it can be forgivable. And yet at the same time, there's only certain banks that are pushing that out right now, are allowing applicants, or there's probably a long queue of people trying to apply for it right now.
Right. Yeah. And obviously they have to be an SBA approved lender, but I have heard, not firsthand, but I have heard of some people, they had good relationships with the small credit union that they've been at for years, that they got them through. But from what I understand, it might be tough right now if you don't have a good relationship with your business bank right now. So
how about for mortgages, people's mortgages? Have you heard much about mortgage forbearance?
Yeah, I mean, the government came out and they said, well, if you have a government-backed mortgage, then, they're kind of putting a pause, foreclosures and evictions. But as with any creditor, I would say you got to reach out to your creditor, right, in advance and talk to them about your situation. This goes for mortgages. It goes for credit card companies. It goes for all that. You don't just want to assume that everyone's going to get a free pass right now. Okay. You want to be proactive about it. And if you think you can't make your mortgage payment this month, get on the phone or through the chat function and talk to your mortgage company. Let them know your situation. And, especially, and you will likely have success, right? Same thing with credit cards. I'm not saying the interest isn't going to accrue, but a lot of credit card companies, they're waiving the late payment fee, right? Stuff like that. And they're, even if you can't make the minimum, some credit card companies are saying they're not going to report it to the 3 credit bureaus for a period of time. But the takeaway is you really just have to be proactive about it and not just assume that you can just miss your next payment and you're going to be good.
Right. And then I think another myth too, a lot of people are thinking with the forbearance is that it's just automatically forgivable. It's not it's people are thinking, oh, okay, if we do get the forbearance, then I don't need to pay this back in 3 months or a year.
Oh.
Things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, no. I mean, it's not that your payment this month goes away. It's not that your balance goes away. It's that they're giving you a break on payments right now because they know cash might be tight due to everything that's going on. But you're gonna have to pay it back.
You have to pay it back. It's not like it's gonna be gone forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. So the technical definition of a recession, Logan, as you know, it's 2 negative quarters of negative GDP. right? And so we can't necessarily say that we're currently in a recession right now, but there's definitely a lot of signs that look like that. And so for those who are looking at their finances, maybe they're in a good position. Maybe all the people who are working still have their jobs, or maybe there's somebody starting to get a little more concerned about their position and they're losing the income. What's some of your advice you would be sharing with people about their finances and how they could be managing it better during this time?
Yeah, I mean, it really does come back to the core principles that work in good times and bad times. If you're fortunate enough to still be in a good job, working, you're probably working from home right now, and that might feel a little crazy, or maybe not. Maybe, you're an essential employee, front lines, medical and things like that, and you're still out there every day. If you're in that fortunate position, one thing that I often see people do right now is they really try to time the market, and they kind of look for that bottom and then just go all in on that day. And it's like, you just continue down the path that you originally set for yourself, right? You might have to think a little bit more now. You might have a good job now, but if things get worse, hey, that might not be the case a month from now. But if you're fortunate to be in a good position now, just stay the course, with what you're doing before. Keep investing in the market, keep doing all that, but don't necessarily look to make a huge profit from this right now by trying to time the market. Now, for people who don't have that disposable income, to invest right now, you really got to look at your cost, right? What cost can you cut right now? People are talking about the subscriptions you're no longer using. Obviously, call everybody that you make a payment to, utility company, just everyone, right? Auto insurance right now, right? A lot of auto insurance providers are giving a discount to people right now because they're not driving as much. And some of them are doing like across the board. Some of them you have to ask, but I would recommend even just asking, even if they are doing an across the board reduction, because you might even be able to get an additional reduction on your bill. So if you're not in a position right now where you're financially comfortable, you really got to look at those cost cutting measures. Because the income side might not be coming in like it used to.
That's very encouraging that you talk about that, because you're saying look at every and all avenues, from our subscriptions with Netflix and Hulu. Why do we have so many? We might have iTunes, Spotify, and all these other platforms that we utilize for music or for streaming. But even to your point of like auto insurance or credit card payments, things like that, there could be ways where we can abate or push off the payment. Not saying it's going to be forgiven altogether, but at least for right now, so we can have the expenses, we can have the income to be able to pay off our bills or be able to use it for a rainy day. Look into those scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, ideally people should be budgeting on a regular basis, but it's obviously sometimes in a time of crisis when because of necessity, not just something you should do. So definitely.
Yeah. Another thing you had brought up, one thing that one of my coaches told me about was in regards, because a lot of these things are put on your credit card. And so if you're able to say you lost your credit card and you're resubscribing and get that credit card back, you're able to actually see all those subscriptions at least pause or stop until you get your new credit card and being able to pay for it, and then reconciling those payments. Should I be going with these monthly expenses and continuing it in light of the current economy?
Yeah, I mean that's a strategy. You could also, if you use one of those softwares like Mint or wherever, just categorize them, just kind of look at what you're spending money on. There's some services right now that like supposedly cancel and negotiate, like it's an app or something, your subscriptions for you. I haven't tested those, but there are these like new subscription apps that supposedly, you text it and it tells you, hey, these are all your subscriptions. And, do you want to cancel this one? Yes or no? Yes or no? Hey, can we try to negotiate this one? Yes or no? So it's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think they're kind of having a heyday right now, but I haven't looked into them for myself.
Do you, well, I know you haven't looked into it yourself, but would you know, is it like you paying them to negotiate on your behalf for these subscriptions?
From what I understand, I think many of them, you're giving access to your data, obviously. And so that's kind of their monetization. Some very well could be subscription. I haven't looked too closely at these, or it might be just a percentage of your savings. So
do you have a recommendation in regards to contacting these vendors via phone, email, or text?
The phone lines are they're pretty booked right now. I do like email or chat because you get it like in writing. You know what I mean? And that can be like your documentation later on. Hey, you said your representative told me on April 8th at 10:42 a.m. that you would waive the late fee, right, for my next payment, or that I can get caught up with my balance in a couple months. So you have that written documentation. I think that's super helpful.
Smart. Yeah, because I know, because my family and I had a trip planned to DC, and we were calling Expedia, and our phone conversation could only last for 4 hours. So we were on the phone with them, waiting for them to pick up. And this was multiple times. We had 3 times, tried for 4 hours, just left it on speaker, left it on the background music, and we didn't get a hold of anybody. Finally, we found a different way to be able to get a hold of somebody. But if you're able to utilize something where you get it in writing, I'm sure it's going to be more helpful, or you can be able to point to that in the past or in the future.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to have that stuff in writing so you can document it.
Logan, I know we're running up against the time. I'm very appreciative of you coming on here, talking about the things that are going on. Before I let you go, though, what are certain things that people should be looking out for in regards to the stimulus package, or what are you hearing that should be coming out in the coming days or coming weeks that people might not be aware of?
Well, there's round 2. Pelosi was talking about round 2 yesterday. Another $1 trillion package. Of course, this is just all in. This isn't anything official yet. But she's talking about more checks to people, expanded unemployment benefits, because right now, if you're on unemployment, you can get an extra $600 a week, right? And federal money in addition to your state benefits. Talking about expanding that. But right now, that doesn't last for long. So she wants to maybe expand that. More money for small business. So, you got to stay tuned for stimulus 2.0, because it looks like a lot of people, what's $1,200 or $2,400 for a lot of people right now? It's not very much. So be on the lookout for that. Chuck Schumer yesterday, he threw out an idea of a pay raise on essential workers, right? Like nurses, let's say, frontline workers, called it a heroes fund, to raise their pay through the end of the year up to their hourly pay up to a max of a $25,000 increase. So of course, but again, that's just an idea right now too. It's not official, but a lot of politicians talking about more money for people right now. So got to stay tuned.
I mean, it's needed, one, right? Because a lot of people are unemployed, or a lot of people are starting to get furloughed. But at the same time, the question does come up: where is all this money coming from? And where's the money coming from? And eventually, are we going to have to, quote unquote, pay this back?
Yeah, well, I mean, it is. There's 2 ways to approach it. There's obviously the inflation aspect, but then kind of more real, in the real sense, we pay the Treasury every year with our taxes, and we will continue to pay the Treasury, and we will pay for this in future years and decades. So, but I look at it, it's like, look, people need help right now. It's not perfect, right? Not everybody who really needs help is going to get a lot of help. There's going to be some people who really don't need a stimulus right now, and they're going to get an extra $2,400 to go throw on the market, right? So, it's not perfect, but they just had to do something fast. But to your point, this America will pay, for this expenditure, for years to come, just in the same way that we pay for other things, wars and things like that, which have these $1 trillion price tags too. So.
Good point. Logan, again, thank you so much for your time, for jumping on this Will and Friends Live webinar. You've been a great resource. I would love to have you back on, whether it be next week or the coming future, talk about what's going on, because it seems like, again, it's changing every day with the stimulus package and all the scams that are going out there. And so if you can advise our friends and family about what to be looking out for, I think that'd be helpful. But again, thank you so much. Before I let you go, what's a good place to be able to find you at if they have questions or want to learn more about what you're talking about?
You can find me on YouTube, Money Done Right. Just search for YouTube, Money Done Right with Logan Allec. Out of all the social media platforms, that's where I'm spending the most time right now, commenting and interacting. with my audience. So be sure to check me out there.
Awesome. Well, again, Logan, thank you so much for your time. Hope you and your family stay safe. And until next time.
All right. Well, yeah, thanks for having me. It was great.
Yes. Thank you, Logan.
Bye.
And then for all those who are still on our webinar, whether Facebook or Zoom, we also have 2 other webinars coming up. We have one with Danielle Anderson on Instagram Live. We're going to be asking her about home education and homeschooling and how to go about that process. And then later on in the evening, I have a good friend, Ben Du. I'll be asking him questions on Instagram Live as well. He's currently in Singapore, been living there for a couple of years now, and just talking to him about his life, how the coronavirus is impacting them, and how he even got a job there. So stay tuned, find out some more information. There's a link on my page in regards to the upcoming webinars. We'd love to see you guys there. If you guys have any questions, you can message me. But until then, have a great day. See you guys later.